Good afternoon, everyone. Next up on the Smart Stage, I'm going to welcome back Julie Jacobson, founding editor of CE Pro. And we have to congratulate Julie's guest today, Mitch Klein, and I'm sorry, I'm Canadian, Z-Wave, who won the CEDIA Lifetime Achievement Award yesterday. So why don't we give Mitch a round of applause right now, because that is amazing. And I wasn't able to attend last night, Mitch, but my whole team was talking about what a special moment it was when you brought your entire family on the stage. I heard that was awesome. So congratulations. And come on up, Julie and Mitch.
After all, it is all about family, is it not?
I just may never leave this stage.
And here we are.
Congratulations, Mitch, on that tremendous honor. And you were not just one of the first integrators, but one of the first people I met in this industry 25 years ago.
And you said, what the heck is all this AV stuff? Why are people buying it? How do we put this in our houses?
No, it wasn't until 10 years later I said, that guy plays guitar? That nerd plays guitar? So we'll see you tonight in the All-Star Band.
We'll be over there.
All
Free
right.
beer.
All right, let's get to Z-Wave.
Let's do it.
We have a milestone, I think, today at your booth.
We do, actually. So, and I know this is kind of chip talk, so I'm sorry about that. But we launched our 700 series chips. And I have to say that we are very excited about it. You guys probably could care less. But what the chip does is it enables devices to communicate longer distances, smaller form, longer battery life. So what that means is you guys get better products. And we actually have our very first manufacturer shipping product, AOTech, who's building these sensors. And the other really cool piece about that, by the way, is the new technology that's in there called Smart Start.
Smart Start. You know, I wrote about Smart Start a while ago. It took me a very, very long time to get it. Once I got it, I thought it was super awesome, and I don't know that anyone else gets it.
Yeah, so here's the deal. As a chip company, we have taken the responsibility that it is really up to us to help make device makers and products make their process simpler, which means make the products better and easy for you guys to install. Even though it's really not important to you what chips are in it, it's important to me. And we created this thing called Smart Start, which you offered up as an option in some of the Series 500s. I'll get to that in a minute. But the new chip requires it. Okay, so what is that? We all know how much fun it is to include devices in a smart home system. Depending on the brand, the make, the model number, maybe this one, to get this one going, you kind of rub your head, pat your belly. But the next one, you got to pat your head, rub your belly, maybe blink 3 times and push the button and hold it for 8 seconds, not 10. But you get the idea that including products can be challenging, and it varies depending on the product. So Smart Start says, you know what? Take out your phone, open up your QR reader, and every individual device has a unique QR code. So you actually scan the QR code, and it automatically gets included into your system. And it is that easy. And if you don't believe me, the very first adopter who's done this is a small company called Ring. Anyone ever heard of Ring Alarm? Ring Alarm, they sell a few gazillion devices and systems, and it's all Smart Start enabled. So as a user, all you need to do is scan it, and it connects.
So you don't have to install it first, power it up, and then go back and enroll it?
No, as a matter of fact, as soon as you power it up, if you've done the QR code, as soon as you power it up, it already knows where it belongs.
So you can configure all those products before you even get to your customer's home.
So the question is, what does it mean to me as an installer? And the beauty there is you can pre-kit your gear. You can actually put your systems together in your warehouse, pre-kit them, put them up on the truck without having to open up everything. And the amount of time it takes the installers, we're trying to be efficient in the field. So with Smart Start, you guys can actually scan, create, build the systems, kit it, put it in a box. Installers can go out and just simply put them in the right places, power them up, and it's all done.
Did you just hear that roar from the audience?
Yeah, that was standing ovation. Look at that.
All right, Smart Start. Now,
anyway, yes, that was
there
cool.
are, you had a session that was sold out, overbooked, standing room only, people leaking out of the room, I hear out of the convention center, about the different standards, Z-Wave, Zigbee, and Bluetooth, right?
Yes.
What was going on there? Why do people care?
So first of all, let me explain that we are a wholly owned subsidiary of a company called Silicon Labs, and we are the #1 supplier of chips for the smart home. So Z-Wave is obviously one, very important one. We do Zigbee, Bluetooth, and others. And over the course of my career, I could never figure out what the differences were and why we needed it. And so the significance to me, which was amazing, so we actually had people sitting in the corridors, so I'm told, because the class was overflowing. And this was Tuesday. So, like, the show opened today. Today's not Tuesday.
I didn't think, was it integrators? I didn't think integrators cared.
And I didn't think integrators either. And so when I put this course together, it was more for me to begin to understand what it was, and do the homework. And I think finally, integrators who are installing smart home or integrators who are doing AV in home theaters are broadening into smart home, and you're running into these things. You're running into Z-Wave, Zigbee, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, Thread, KNX, you name it, all these different things. And you're finally going, wait a minute, this stuff doesn't work together. How do I know if this will work in my system? What does my customer already have? What does this stuff mean? So I put this course together, and apparently the cool thing is integrators are getting the fact that you need to know this stuff.
That's really cool. That is almost
is.
as cool
Excited.
as the CE Pro All-Star Band. No, that is interesting because I don't hear dealers really talking about exploring and getting to understand all these various standards and protocols.
Of course, we all know Z-Wave is the best one because it's fully interoperable, and if it's got a Z-Wave logo on it, it will work with your system. And that's not necessarily true with any of the other platforms.
Isn't that true with Thread?
What's that? I have a loose thread here somewhere. Anyway, sorry.
No, that is true, and there is so much confusion with logos and everyone having, for example, a Zigbee logo on it, and that doesn't, maybe it uses some kind of communications protocol, but it doesn't mean anything to the consumer about
Exactly right.
interoperability.
Yep.
All right. I want to talk, well, first of all, let's talk about some of the companies in your booth.
Yep.
And there's one that I spoke with and I think has gotten some traction here, so I want to start with them. And then there's a few that I've noticed in the past that I think need a little bit more love. People don't really get what's so cool about them. So let's start with IntelliThings.
Okay, so that's really cool. So, we've heard a lot about beacons and, recognizing where people are within the home. And IntelliThings is the first company. What do they call it? Roomy. So they actually are showing in our booth, and you guys want to go check this out. These are actually beacons that on your phone, you put these little sensors where you enter the rooms, and it will know who's in the room, who's not in the room, when you've left the room, so on and so forth. And so why is that important? Is because as we talk about adaptive, we talk about automation, we talk about time of day and different types of macros, these can be automatically initiated based on who's entered the room, who's in the room, the time of day, so on and so forth. So they are actually the first company to really deliver on that promise. It's really cool stuff.
And I got this pitch, and I said, well, haven't we heard that before? Isn't everyone doing it? And then I kind of recognized that, okay, this is kind of the poor man's proximity detector, where in commercial venues you have these very sophisticated, basically computers in every room that's logging this information and processing this information, and it's too unwieldy, too expensive, too complicated for home use. This one instead uses the app on your phone, registers there, so there's just a two-way safe communication, and then the app can pass it to anyone who might use it. And they're tracking the comings and goings of the person rather than having these giant computers in every room to see where you are.
Yeah, it's personalized, and then it also ties in to your control system, and that's where the Z-Wave comes in, or the Control 4, or the others. So yes, it's a one-to-one thing that then ties into the rest of the system. It's pretty smart.
I like it. Now, there's a few that, like, I have to go to my secret people to say, am I too stupid? I don't get this one.
Yeah.
The answer is usually yes. So let's talk about some of those.
Let's do that.
Qubino.
So this is a product, if you guys have not seen, you need to get there. Who is Cubino? This is a member. We see we've got 12 members in our booth. This is one of our members out of Croatia. And they build these dimmers, smart dimmers. And this has become pretty popular in Europe. This, folks, this is a mini dimmer. This is the smallest dimmer. And what blows me away is no one in the U.S. not only is not using it, but doesn't even know what it is. It's an actual dimmer. So you can basically take the dimmer out of the wall, or the switch out of the wall, connect this in the box, put the dimmer back in, you've got a full Z-Wave compatible dimmer in the wall. So in other words, again, let me repeat that. You don't replace the dimmer or the switch. You just put this device in the box behind the existing dimmers. And I'm surprised no one in the U.S. uses it.
I've seen them in Europe, though.
Europeans are pretty smart. Yep, I think they're a little bit ahead of us. Mm-hmm.
What's the price on those? Do you know?
I wish I knew.
Okay.
I don't know the price. You're going to have to come to the booth and ask the price.
Yeah, I guess that.
It's a lot cheaper
that
than
was
the
a
wall.
softball, yeah.
I know. It's a lot cheaper than the dimmer.
Yeah. No, it's great. Just fits right in there. How about zoos? Newcomer.
So newcomer, again, really cool thing. And I ran into this problem before. I don't know how many of you have actually tried to install a dimmer to control an LED bulb and found you don't have a neutral wire? No one? I'm the only one in the room. The only one. Okay. In a retrofit installation, there are not neutrals always in the right place. And so you just simply can't use LED bulbs, because it requires that neutral. So they actually have a dimmer that doesn't require a neutral. Every other one out there requires a neutral. So Zeus has that. They have a bunch of other really cool products
multi-way switches as well.
Multi-way switches. And again, this is a company formed by integrators. And so you may want to go and check out some of their products too. Great solutions products for you.
Okay, now I've seen Parakeet at CES in your booth. I've seen them for a little while. They purport to offer smart community or MDU type services. Are they legit?
So this is another thing. Look for the really cool green parrot, anyway, Parakeet. This is an opportunity that integrators should really be considering. It's a little bit of a different business model because Parakeet builds a platform for MDUs. And as an MDU, we're talking about rental properties, whether it's be large apartment complexes or individual device apartments. They could be condominiums or what have you. And what it is it's a central system for a property manager that can actually manage the different units within their properties in terms of if it's unoccupied, knowing whether someone's in there, keeping the doors locked, allowing locks to open for realtors to show it. And then as these units get occupied, that particular piece of control migrates out of the hands of the property manager into the hands of the renter or of the homeowner. And what's cool about that use case is it's very focused, it's very limited in what the devices are going to be. And so if you can do high volume, low margin, you're talking about thousands of units, not 10. But if you can work with the folks at Parakeet, they're looking for installers. If you can do that kind of work, you can get thousands and thousands of projects a year. I think it's a huge opportunity.
I like it. Are there any... Well, I always have to ask this question because I'm kind of a one-trick pony, like wellness stuff. Do you know any Z-Wave companies doing like circadian lighting?
When Julie gets focused on something, trust me, she gets focused. You didn't even
but
mention...
I only ask questions that I know the answer to.
Right,
so.
you didn't even ask about biophilia. I mean, my God.
Well,
that's your thing,
that's
right?
that's an element of biophilia.
It's the other philia that's legal, right? It's the legal philia. So in terms of that wellness, what's required for the effective wellness are sensors and other types of end devices. And all of our members, and all 12 of them here, as well as many on our interoperability wall, all make end devices that are exceptionally relevant to the wellness. And what it really takes is a company to build the application around the end devices. Do you know of any offhand?
Well, Thread.
Ah, yes, Thread. Yes, again.
No, but it seems to me that you have, in all the areas that we talk about wellness, you have the devices, you have the color tunable lighting in Z-Wave, you have the indoor air quality sensors, I presume, in Z-Wave. So it is just a matter of, I guess we need to work harder to evangelize that.
We do, and again, it's, if you look at what we're doing with our 700, because wellness is going to be all about sensors, and all multi-sensors. Instead of 12 different sensors in one room, multi-sensors that can handle multiple things, if you will. And the fact that a 700 enables a device to be smaller, longer range, at least a 10-year battery life, this is all stuff we're making today. And so really it's up to the companies like Delos and others to really utilize and leverage those products and technologies that you guys get to install and sell.
So what do you imagine when Silicon Labs and all the partners, when their products become even smaller and more powerful and can run on less overhead? I mean, where can we go with it?
We can always go smaller. We can always add multiple functionality. For example, again, going back to our 700, now I've got an ARM processor, so the devices themselves, not only are they smaller, but they become smarter. We can actually put more intelligence into the small devices. And yeah, it's going to keep happening, keep going.
And is there anything, since you joined Sci Labs and they also make product Zigbee and Bluetooth and Wi-Fi?
Thread,
all
Bluetooth,
that.
Yep, all of the above.
Is there any benefit to dealers and consumers for that?
That's a great question. And in the long term, and when I say long term, probably 12 to 18 months, what we'll be looking at is something we're calling multi-protocol. And multi-protocol will mean taking some of the guesswork out of you guys to know that the device, whether it's Z-Wave or Zigbee or Bluetooth or what have you, that the device itself will automatically configure itself to be compatible with whatever gateway hub controller that you happen to be using. We just launched, again, it wasn't a Z-Wave, but Silicon Labs just launched our first test case for that. And that's a Signify device. I don't know if you're familiar with the brand. They make all the Philips Hue stuff. And we have a multi-protocol Hue bulb out there, which basically is Bluetooth and Zigbee. And what it enables you to do is, instead of actually having to go and open an application and go through all that process, because it's Bluetooth, you'll be able to open up your phone, connect to it through Bluetooth, configure it, and done. And then it'll connect to the Zigbee network in your home. And you'll start seeing more and more of that with multi-protocol. So that's coming. And again, as I said, as a silicon company, we feel it is our responsibility to make things easier for the manufacturers, which ultimately means making it easier for you guys to actually install.
Speaking of you guys, what is Z-Wave doing to help dealers out there?
That's the next softball, thank you. So many of you have heard of our certified installer training. The beauty about Z-Wave is it doesn't take a huge amount of knowledge to understand, but we still have some best practices or frequent, FAQs, if you will. So you can join up the Alliance, and we do provide you training. We also have, and you can come over to our booth and see it, what we call our Certified Installer Toolkit. And what this device is, a little box that you can actually connect up to your Z-Wave system before you leave your installation, and it provides all types of tools to ensure that all the devices are communicating properly, that the mesh network has properly been pre-configured, because you don't need to configure it, and any potential problems that might cause a truck roll later on are identified before you leave the house, and it allows you to fix that problem before you leave. It's a really powerful tool, and you definitely want to come by and see that.
Can you monitor it on an ongoing basis?
And the beauty is, yes, thank you, you can actually leave it behind in the house. So, I'm fond of calling, you get the problem, say, a vacuum fade. You've all experienced vacuum fade? That's like when the housekeeper unplugs your device to plug in the vacuum cleaner and doesn't plug it back in. And then they call you up and say, my system doesn't work, what the heck? And if you've left this device back in, you can go log in and say, well, yeah, why don't you plug that thing back in? You haven't rolled a truck. So yeah, it's a good idea to leave it back. Also, it enables your customer to add devices or change devices out without you actually having to roll a truck. You can actually go in remotely and make that change.
All right, well then I'm going to ask one that I don't know the answer to. Do you have any kind of like API for that where third-party remote monitoring and management companies could incorporate Z-Wave devices into their solutions?
Yeah, the answer is yes. We have had conversations with some of the brands and companies that you may know, for whether it be Domots or our friends at OneVision and others. I would recommend you go to those folks and say, why haven't you implemented yet? Julie said. Just go tell them, Julie said, implement. We've been talking with them. They've been slow on the adoption. Part of the reason, I might add, and my technical director insists is the case, is because the Z-Wave stuff just works. You know, and again, it's really true. It's like, yeah, I don't need that kit because it just works. And whereas if it's Wi-Fi, it sometimes works, you know, and there's all kinds of issues with Wi-Fi, but the Z-Wave stuff just works. So, like, we don't need to invest the money in the tool. And I'm like, yeah, you probably should. So that's kind of where that is.
Yeah, it's really interesting because as more and more things get interconnected and something breaks, you know, the refrigerator breaks, is it because it's not getting the signals through because you just put a big mirror somewhere in between? Is it because it's a bad coil or whatever breaks? And so
more often than not, it's simply because something's been disconnected, right? And so the beauty of a mesh network, and again, Z-Wave, we have a mesh network. Zigbee also does mesh network. And the beauty of the mesh is that there's always more than one way to communicate from one device to another device. And it's self-healing. So most of the time, in that vacuum fade situation I explained, no one would know the difference because they found another way to communicate. And again, that's the kind of thing you test with the toolkit to go, hey, in case someone unplugs that and you're looking at the data that you just got on your toolkit and going, you know what, there are multiple paths, I think I'm good. Or you can look at it and go, you know what, there's only one way to get there and maybe I'll add another device. So again, with Z-Wave, the more devices you put in the house, the stronger the network. Because I know we've always been taught, especially with our experience with Wi-Fi, the more things in the house, the slower the network, the worse it gets. We've all experienced the joy of being in a hotel room and trying to get a picture to download, right? Nevertheless, a website. When you talk about Z-Wave, the more things, the better. So keep selling them, keep adding devices.
yeah. I always thought that was just a sales pitch. Oh yeah, you want to put as many as possible in there.
It is a sales pitch, and it is a reality. It's both.
All right. So I've seen also at your booth the Atom, Eslo, the Atom, a tiny little thing, and I saw it sticking in a clock radio. What are they showing there?
So this is also a really cool thing. You know, I think the form factor of a gateway or a hub has always been this brick that gets put somewhere in the house. And the form factors are starting to change. And this company, Eslo, who's got exceptionally deep resources, and they have a couple of brands you may have heard of, one of them being Vera, if you will. They've actually downsized it to the size of a very small thumb drive. So literally, you could plug it in to any USB port, and now you've got a Z-Wave hub or Z-Wave gateway. They're also showing some other things, such as a plug, an actual plug, a smart plug, that will become your gateway. Other companies like Train is doing that in a thermostat. So the gateway is actually in the thermostat. So we're seeing that transition away from where you guys have to explain why they need to spend this $99 or $199 or whatever that price is on a brick, and actually give them a device that has multifunction.
That's really interesting because I always thought that was just a silly objection. You know, well, I'm not going to buy that thing. I have to get a hub.
Exactly, yep.
And so they just put the hub in there, the gateway in there.
Yeah, and more you're starting to see them in cable boxes and, of course, security panels. If any of you install security panels, over 90% of the security panels actually have Z-Wave in it. Any of you guys do security? Toolkit, Honeywell, Qualsys, all that? Okay. Those already have Z-Wave hubs in them. You may not have known that. So now, sell more stuff. So that's all about from a business perspective. And when I had my integration company, that was always a mission to figure out how to sell more stuff to the same amount of customers as opposed to constantly try to reacquire more and more. And I don't mean to sell them stuff they don't need. That's not my point. But stuff they really do need, or maybe they don't know they need yet. And so when you've got your security panel with Z-Wave in it, why aren't you selling them a door lock? Or a motorized shade? Or upgrading the thermostat? Or changing some lighting out?
I want to shift gears just a little bit. We have 4 minutes left. You've been an extremely active and generous volunteer with CEDIA. And maybe you could spend a few minutes talking about what you get out of that and the importance of participating in your industry association.
Yeah, hopefully some of you saw my little acceptance speech yesterday, and I kind of did get into that a little bit. But for me, the volunteering always gave me this blank canvas to implement on my vision and to work with other volunteers. So on a professional side, whether I'm an integrator or what I'm doing now, obviously I have very business-oriented motivations, and they're good motivations. When we talk about working within a volunteer organization, there you start getting real excitement. When I see the glow in someone's eye, that lean forward, that excitement, that super motivates me. And we, as volunteers within an organization like this, have influence over the directions of technology, over the directions of where all this stuff goes, technology goes, where the education goes, and how we grow our businesses. And to me, that's huge. I'm really passionate about that.
Well, I've talked to many integrators and others in the industry that have said, I wouldn't be in business without Mitch Klein. So I know you've been a great mentor. I'm going to start crying to a lot of people. And I'm glad I've known you all these years. And so once again, congratulations on this great honor. And appreciate you joining us today to talk about Z-Wave.
Julie, thank you. And Julie's been a friend for many years. And let me also add that those of you that I don't know, you're welcome. Come over to the booth, say hi, and then I'd love to get to know you. So to me, it doesn't end here. It keeps going. So thanks for being here. Thank you, Julie.